When my brother got arrested, my parents emptied their entire savings to get him out. When I needed money for a surgery, my dad coldly said, "If one of you has to go, it's better you than him." My mom didn't even hesitate. "He's always been our priority. You're on your own." I just nodded and said, "Thanks for showing me where I stand." 4 months later, I made a move that left them with nothing to fall back on. Now they're calling me every day. Please, just one conversation. So this started with something weird last month, and honestly, I'm still not over it. Maybe you'll get it, maybe not, but whatever. Here goes. I walked into my parents' house, which is so typical. I always end up there when stuff breaks. Wi-Fi, TV, thermostat, whatever. It's always me and not my brother Nelson, but I'll get to him. Anyway, it's like 7 p.m., and I'm there to fix the Wi-Fi again because my dad refuses to learn how to reset a router, and my mom just stands in the hall with her arms crossed like she's supervising a toddler. I walk in and there's this weird energy, like not just the Wi-Fi's out thing, but my mom's already on the phone whispering, and my dad's pacing, and nobody says hi. You ever walk in and feel like you interrupted something, but they're not even trying to hide it? That was the vibe. I just say, "Is it the Wi-Fi again?" And my dad goes, "Yeah, whatever. It's in the basement." And then he just goes back to pacing. Mom's still on the phone, not looking at me at all. So whatever. I go downstairs, start unplugging stuff, and I can hear them through the vent, like not even trying to be quiet. My mom's saying stuff like, "What if Nelson doesn't get bail? We have to do something." And my dad's talking about draining their savings. Not like, "Oh, we'll ask for help." Just straight up, "We'll cash everything out if we have to." I'm just down there, router in my hand, thinking, of course it's Nelson. Nelson, who's 3 years younger but has always gotten away with everything. The golden boy. I've been hearing stories about his bad luck since he was 15. Always some mess, always someone else's fault. Always my parents there to clean it up. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't used to it, but hearing them talk about draining everything, that's new. I fixed the Wi-Fi, obviously, and I'm heading back up when my dad stops me on the stairs. He doesn't even thank me, just asks if I can help figure out how to transfer money out of this old account of theirs, like right now. No explanation. I'm not dumb. I know exactly what's happening. I ask, "You sure you want to do that?" He just looks at me like I'm the idiot. Then my mom comes in, hangs up and says, "Can you give us a minute?" So I leave. Go stand in the backyard scrolling through Reddit and trying not to think about how the yard still looks like it did when I was 12. I hear them arguing inside, but it's muffled. Eventually my dad comes out, says, "You can go." So I leave. That's just the start. None of this would really have meant much, like, I know my place in the family, I've known for years. But then a week later I find out I need surgery. It's not major, but it's enough that I can't work for a while if I don't do it. I've been putting it off like an idiot because I don't want to deal with insurance and bills and whatever. But now it's getting bad, and I can't ignore it. So I call my dad and just ask if they can help. Just a loan, not a handout. The phone goes quiet for a second, then he says, "If one of you has to go, it's better you than him." Just like that. No explanation. No, sorry, just that. In the background, I hear my mom, not even hesitating, saying Nelson's always been the priority. "You're on your own." I don't even really react. I just say, "Thanks for showing me where I stand." My dad hangs up. I stare at my phone for a while, then turn it off. I don't even try to call Nelson. He's probably off somewhere pretending this isn't his fault. The worst part is, none of this is a surprise. I've always been the backup plan, the one who fixes stuff, the one who doesn't ask for much, the one who gets a $20 gift card at Christmas while Nelson gets a new phone. It's always been like this, but hearing them say it out loud just kinda… IDK, something snapped. So I go home and just sit with it. I mean, what do you even do with that? I text my friend Evelyn just to vent, but she thinks I'm exaggerating. Says, maybe they're just stressed, maybe Nelson's in real trouble. I get it, but like, you can't just throw one kid away because the other one can't stop screwing up. I didn't even tell her exactly what my dad said. I don't want her to think I'm making it up for attention. That night I can't sleep. I keep thinking about every time I helped them out. Every time I drove across town to fix something or loaned them cash when Nelson borrowed from their account. Every time my dad said family takes care of its own, which always meant Nelson, not me. It's not even about the money, it's just, I don't even know. It's like, you spend your whole life thinking, maybe one day they'll see you, and then they just flat out tell you, nope, not gonna happen. The next morning, I get a text from my mom, all casual, asking if I can pick up groceries. No mention of what they said, no apology. I don't even answer. I just stare at the phone like, are you kidding me? I spend the day kind of walking around in a fog, trying to decide if I'm being dramatic. But then I remember the way my dad said it. No hesitation, just facts. If one of you has to go, it's better you than him. Like I'm spare parts. Later that day, Nelson calls. First time in months. He sounds tired, like he just woke up and asks if I've talked to mom and dad. I say, yeah, and he just sighs, says, they're stressed. Can you help out with some stuff? I just laugh and hang up. He texts me after and says, don't make this harder than it needs to be. I block his number. I mean, what does he even want? He's always been like this, just assumes I'll take care of things, clean up his messes, keep mom and dad happy so he can keep doing whatever he wants. I spend the next few days ignoring my parents' calls. I see their names pop up on my phone, and every time I think maybe they'll apologize, maybe they'll realize what they said, but it's always just, can you help us with this? Can you send us that? Never. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Just more chores. I start thinking maybe it's time to stop playing along. If I'm just a tool to them, maybe they don't get to use me anymore. So I start pulling back. I don't answer texts. I don't show up when they ask. I don't fix the Wi-Fi or drive over with groceries or transfer money for them. Nelson tries again, leaves a voicemail saying, you're making things hard on everyone. Stop acting like a child. I delete it. I don't feel guilty, just tired. It's weird though. You grow up thinking family is family, but then you realize, nah, some people just pick favorites and never look back. I don't know if this is normal or if I just got unlucky, but I'm done pretending. I know this isn't the most dramatic story out there, but I'm not looking for pity. Just needed to get it out. I guess I'm just wondering what happens next if I really do walk away. Feels like if I don't, nothing ever changes. And yeah, I'm angry. Not even sad, just mad, in a way that feels old, like it's always been there. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I know I'm not letting them use me anymore. Not after this. Next time they need something, they can call Nelson. If you've read this far, thanks. I honestly don't know what comes next, but whatever it is, it's gonna be different. Update 1. So this bit is kinda wild, or maybe just stupid, but I swear I started seeing my parents in a different light after that last phone call. Like, I was always the backup, but it hit different hearing them just lay it out. I spent a couple days ignoring their texts, and even Evelyn was like, you sure you don't want to just talk it out? Nah, not this time, not after all that. I kept thinking about every single time they needed something and how I'd just do it. No questions, no thanks. Literally felt like a walking tech support line for people who never once asked how I was. First weird thing was my dad calling me on a Sunday morning, which he never does. Usually, it's just texts about errands or whatever. The call was just him asking if I could come by and help them figure out some online banking thing. Apparently their account was locked or some notification scared them. He didn't even try to say hi or ask about my surgery. Just straight to, can you come now? It's important. Nelson's busy. And I just said, nah, I'm not around today. He got kinda stiff and just said, guess I'll figure it out, and hung up. After that, my mom started texting. She switched from acting normal to sending these guilt trip novels about how hard things are with Nelson's situation, how family has to stick together. I left her on read. It's actually wild how fast their tone shifted from annoyed to desperate. They started calling a couple times a day, leaving voicemails about bills, insurance, passwords, stuff I've done for them for years because Nelson never bothered learning and they just expected I'd handle it forever. Like, I know this sounds dumb, but you don't realize how much stuff you do for people until you just stop. Suddenly, my mom's blowing up my phone about her Netflix not working, asking what happened to the grocery delivery app. Why can't she log into her tablet? I just stopped replying. Not out of spite, but because I realized if I'm not important enough to get basic respect, then they can figure it out for themselves. Nelson, of course, nowhere to be found. He's got his own mess going on, and he's always been good at disappearing when things aren't about him. That's been his secret superpower since we were kids. Then this one day, maybe 2 weeks after the last blow-up, I get a call from a random number. It's Nelson, using someone else's phone. He goes straight into, you're making things harder on everyone. Mom and dad are freaking out, just help them already. He tried to act all chill, but I could hear he was annoyed, like this was a hassle he shouldn't have to deal with. I told him, you're the favorite, you help. He actually laughed, said, I don't have time for this crap, and then started saying it's my job because I know how all their stuff works. I just hung up. Next day, my dad shows up at my apartment. I'm not even kidding. He's never once just dropped by unannounced, not in all these years. He knocks like he's gonna break the door down. I open it a crack, just enough to see his face. He's got that look, you know the one, like he's about to lecture me. He says, you're being childish, get over yourself and help your family. I said, you told me I'm not your priority, so figure it out with Nelson. He actually tried to push the door open, but I blocked it and told him to leave. He slapped the door frame, then walked off muttering. My neighbor across the hall stuck her head out, so I just shrugged and closed the door. It was honestly kind of freeing, not gonna lie. I watched as the missed calls piled up and the texts went from demanding to almost begging. You'd think after a few days they'd give up, but nope. They kept at it. My mom started sending messages about how Nelson was struggling, how family should forgive, all that. My dad switched to threats, stuff like, you'll regret this, and you're not acting like a son. I blocked his number for a week. In between all this, I started thinking about all the stuff they've got tied to my name. Like a lot of their bills, some old accounts, even their phone plan. Stuff they set up years ago because my credit was better. And they said it'd just be easier. Never bothered to change it, just expected I'd always play along. I went online, logged into the accounts, and started taking my name off anything I could. It was actually more annoying than I thought. All these calls and hold music, but whatever. I figured if they want to be independent, let them. I switched my name off the utilities, left the old passwords behind, and deleted all my cards from their payments. I didn't tell them, just did it quietly. I knew they'd notice eventually, but I didn't care. I'd already paid the price for being their backup for way too long. If they wanted to treat me like I was disposable, well, let's see how that works out when I stop making their lives easy. About a week later, my mom calls again, freaking out about the water bill. She says the account got switched and now she can't log in. I told her, call customer service. They can help you. She gets mad, starts yelling about how I'm ruining things for everyone. I said, I'm just doing what you told me. She hangs up. About an hour later, Nelson calls, says, you're being a jerk, just fix it. I said, you fix it. I'm done. He swore at me and hung up. Things kept escalating. My parents started calling Evelyn asking if she could talk to me, see what was going on. She texted me like, what happened? Your mom sounds worried. I told her, they know what they did. She said, don't you think you're being a little harsh? I said, you weren't there. You didn't hear what they said. She dropped it after that. I started getting letters from the bank about joint accounts being closed. I ignored them. My mom called again, crying this time, saying they can't pay some bills. I said maybe ask Nelson to help. She just sobbed and hung up. I didn't feel anything. Not proud, not guilty, just done. Then came the family group chat meltdown. My dad started posting these long rants about loyalty, how he worked so hard to provide, how Nelson needed them, and I was being selfish. Nelson chimed in saying I was always jealous, always trying to ruin things for him. I left the group. My aunt texted me later asking if everything was okay. I didn't reply. The final straw was when my mom came to my apartment, banged on my door, and started yelling in the hallway. She said, you don't understand what it's like. Nelson needs us. He's always needed more. I said, I needed you once and you said no. She tried to push past me, so I blocked the door. She slapped my arm and stomped off. My neighbor saw again and just shook her head. I know this all sounds messy, but honestly, it's just real. I was always the fallback, the one they could use because I wouldn't push back. Nelson was the fragile one, the one who needed more. So I was supposed to just take care of things. My parents never thought twice about it. They didn't do it out of hate, just laziness or habit or whatever. It's not like they're evil, just selfish, I guess. Now every day, more calls, more texts, more missed payments. I haven't blocked them, not completely, but every time I see their names pop up, I just remember that phone call. If one of you has to go, it's better you than him. So yeah, I'm making it clear. I'm not their safety net anymore. They can figure it out for themselves, or maybe Nelson can step up for once. I'm not holding my breath. Honestly, I'm just waiting to see how far this goes. If you told me last year I'd ever stand up to them, I'd have laughed. But now, after everything, I just don't care. I'm not their backup plan. Next part, I guess you'll see how they handle it. Spoiler, they don't handle it well. Update 2. Alright, so if you followed up to now, you know I basically stopped being the family it guy, errand boy, and walking ATM. Not to be all main character energy, but it's been weird watching my parents actually have to deal with real life for the first time in ages. Like, they're not dumb, but they're so used to having me handle everything that it's kind of like watching someone try to figure out TikTok for the first time. Awkward and a little painful. Here's where it started to get messy. About a month after I pulled my name off their accounts and stopped doing the daily fix-it stuff, I noticed my mom commenting on my Instagram posts again, which is wild because she hasn't cared about my social. Stuff like, nice photo. Wish you'd call your mother? Then she started DMing me on Facebook, which I haven't used in forever. She even dug up my old Twitter, where the last thing I posted was a meme from like 2019. She's never been this desperate to get my attention. Random, but I started seeing missed calls from my Aunt Helen too. She's not even close to us. She always kept her distance because of my parents' drama with Nelson. She sent me this long text about how family is family, and I should be patient with my parents. I just left her on read. She tried again a couple days later, asking if I'd talk to my mom because she's worried sick. I told her, if she's that worried, she can call Nelson. She didn't reply after that. So my parents' house has always been a mess of little problems. Leaky faucet, broken AC, the oven clock never set right. I used to just fix that stuff when I visited, but now it's all piling up. My mom texted me a photo of their kitchen sink with the caption, "Can you help with this?" I didn't answer. She called. I let it go to voicemail. Next thing I know, she's sending me screenshots of overdue bills, like I'm supposed to drop everything and pay it. I guess that's the part I hadn't really thought about. They'd gotten used to just forwarding bills to me or using my card on file for groceries. Now they're getting late payment emails and can't figure out how to set up autopay. My dad called me from his old phone, said, "You've made your point, now fix this mess." I said, "Nah, I'm good." There was a family group chat meltdown again. Nelson tried to say I was being dramatic, that I was making mom cry. My dad tried to guilt me, saying I was supposed to be the responsible one. I told him I learned from the best. Nelson started calling me names, so I muted the chat. One day, my mom just showed up at my place, no warning. She banged on my door for like 5 minutes. I opened it. She shoved past me, started crying about how hard things have been, how Nelson is struggling, how she doesn't know what to do. She tried to hug me, but I stepped back and told her to leave. She slapped my arm and called me heartless. I told her, "You made your choice, now live with it." She slammed the door when she left. A week later, I got a letter from the water company about the house being past due. I guess they didn't figure out the online stuff. Same week, my dad texted me, said, "You're going to regret this. You'll need us one day." I didn't reply. He called 3 times that night. I let it all go to voicemail. Nelson texted me the next day, said, "You're ruining everything. Just suck it up and help." Like always. I blocked his number again. Maybe the wildest part is I started getting texts from Nelson's friends, like, "Bro, what's going on with your parents?" I barely know these people. I realized my parents must have started asking around, trying to find someone to pressure me. One guy, Kyle, said, "Your mom said you're the only one who can fix this." I told him she's wrong. It's not like I wanted things to get this messy, but I just stopped fixing things for them, and suddenly their world fell apart. I even started clearing out all my old stuff from their place. I showed up when I knew they'd be out, took everything that was mine, old laptop, some clothes, random junk in the garage, left a note saying, "Don't call me for anything else." They started calling my friend Evelyn again. She texted me, said, "Your mom's blowing up my phone." I said, "Sorry, just block her if you want." She said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, actually." At this point, it was getting embarrassing. My parents started messaging me through WhatsApp, Signal, even LinkedIn. My dad sent a contact request like I'm going to talk to him on it. I just laughed. I guess they thought if they tried enough platforms, I'd give in. A few days ago, my dad showed up at my place again. He didn't knock this time, just stood outside, calling my phone over and over. I put in my earbuds and just waited it out. Eventually, he left. I got a text a couple hours later, just said, "I hope you're proud of yourself. I heard through my cousin that the house is in real trouble. Not foreclosure yet, but they're behind on a bunch of stuff. Nelson hasn't been home in weeks. He's couch hopping or whatever. My parents keep trying to reach me, but all they get is silence. They're finally seeing what it's like when I'm not there to bail them out. It's weird because part of me thought they'd figure it out or at least try to fix things themselves. But they just keep spiraling, asking other people for help, hoping I'll cave. I won't. I'm not their backup plan anymore, and I'm not going to pretend like what they did was normal. They always said Nelson needed more help, but the truth is they just liked having someone to take care of everything. And now they have to live with what they chose. Next part, you'll see how desperate they get. I'm not playing their game anymore. Final update. So this part's not glamorous, but it's real. And honestly, I'm not sure there's even a neat way to type it all out. If you've kept up so far, you know things with my parents have been a dumpster fire since I stopped doing literally everything for them. I always thought deep down they'd bounce back. Or Nelson would step up for once, or at least they'd figure out how to log into their own bank account. Turns out, no. The first thing that tipped me off that things were way worse than they let on was my mom sending me a Venmo request for groceries. Just the most random amount. No message, just a request. I ignored it. She sent another one a few hours later, then again the next day. Then my dad actually texted me a photo of their empty fridge with a one-liner. "Hope you're happy." I just blocked his number for a while. I know that sounds harsh, but I honestly couldn't stand looking at their names anymore. It got to the point where every time I opened my phone, there were missed calls from random numbers. They started calling from the house line, from my aunt's phone, even from Evelyn's number once. She texted me right after. Said, "Sorry, your mom begged to use my phone. I didn't know what else to do." My parents were always the type to keep their mess private, but now everyone in the family chat could see it. My uncle commented something like, "What's going on with your parents? They called me crying about bills." I just said, "Ask them." So yeah, they couldn't pay the bills. House was behind on utilities. My dad actually DM'd me on LinkedIn to say they might lose the car. Nelson wasn't there. He vanished again. Which honestly, classic. He's always been able to disappear when things get messy. My parents always covered for him because he was sensitive or needed more help. It was always, Nelson can't take this stress. Or Nelson's going through a lot, like I wasn't standing right there. I started getting emails from companies I'd never heard of, like collections agencies, because my name was on stuff from back when they needed a good credit score for a loan. Wild how quickly people remember your number when they need something. I went and cleared all that up. made sure nothing new could get tied to me, shut down every account I could. There was one joint card they still managed to rack up a balance on, so I paid it off and closed it. Not for them, just so they couldn't drag me down with them. At one point, my mom actually showed up at my apartment with a bag of groceries, set them down, and started crying in my kitchen. She said, "You can't just leave us like this. We're your parents." I told her, "You left me a long time ago." She tried to hug me and I stepped back. She slapped my shoulder and started yelling about how Nelson always needed more, how they did what they had to do, how I was always stronger. She kept saying, "You know it's true. You always fix things. Nelson isn't like you." I told her, maybe he should learn. She slammed my door on the way out. I kept thinking, maybe this is what it takes for them to finally get it. But they just kept calling. Every day? Sometimes 5, 6 times a day? My dad left these weird voicemails, switching between angry and pathetic, saying stuff like, "Just one conversation, please. You don't understand how bad it is, just talk to us." My mom texted, "Please, just one conversation," over and over, like if she spammed it enough, I'd break. Evelyn texted, said, "Your mom is calling me every morning. What do you want me to say?" I told her, "Say whatever you want, I'm not changing my mind." She said, "You really done with them?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I get it." At some point, my parents started going through my old friends, people I haven't talked to in years. I got a message from Kyle, who I haven't seen since college, saying, "Dude, your dad called me. Is everything okay?" I just said, "It's fine, don't get involved." I guess people expect a big reconciliation arc or something, but nah. I didn't do any of this to teach them a lesson. I just wanted out. But seeing them scramble, seeing them have to beg people instead of just leaning on me, I can't lie. It feels like revenge in a way. They spent my whole life making sure Nelson had everything, and when I needed something real, they left me hanging. So I left them hanging. The last real thing that happened, and I haven't even told anyone this, is my dad emailing me an actual apology. Not a long one, just a couple sentences said, "We screwed up. We need you. Please talk to your mom." I didn't reply. I didn't even open the next one. I just archived it. Now it's been 4 months since all this started. I got the surgery, paid for it myself, took out a loan, whatever. I'm working, I'm fine. My parents are still calling every day. Sometimes I'll answer just to listen, then hang up. Sometimes I let it ring. They're on their own now, for real. If you're looking for some kind of happy ending, sorry, this isn't that. I didn't forgive them. I didn't fix anything. Nelson's still gone. My mom's still sending those please. Just one conversation text every morning. My dad's still trying to play tough, but he sounds tired. I guess you can only lean on someone for so long before they move. That's it. That's the whole thing. I'm not their backup plan anymore. They're calling me every day, begging, but I don't owe them anything. If they want a hero, they can call Nelson. I'm out.